Something wild must have happened behind the scenes for the Charlotte Hornets to trade LaMelo Ball. Charlotte was so good last season, proving to be the third-best team in the league after January 22nd. That is a massive window of time to be elite with LaMelo as your centerpiece. We all know about his past car accidents and off-court antics, leaving everyone to wonder what he did this time. It turns out we know exactly why they traded him. It is not a mystery at all. Before diving into the reasons, let us look at the blockbuster deal. The Minnesota Timberwolves acquire LaMelo Ball and Josh Green. In exchange, the Charlotte Hornets receive Naz Reid, an unprotected 2033 first-round pick, 3 pick swaps, and 3 second-round picks. That is an absolute haul. But what exactly is Minnesota thinking here? They recently lost out on Giannis Antetokounmpo after the Greek Freak indicated he was willing to sign an extension only in Miami, Boston, or Minnesota. Losing out on that hurts, especially since they tried to trade for Kevin Durant just months prior. Minnesota is big game hunting because Anthony Edwards desperately needs a legitimate co-star. Yes, Rudy Gobert is technically a star with his all-star appearances and Defensive Player of the Year awards, but he is not the kind of offensive engine that shifts defensive focus. Anthony Edwards has faced a brutal amount of double teams in recent years, and it completely bothered him in the playoffs this year. Ant had a steep drop-off in the postseason, and though he was dealing with an injury, taking a step back after reaching the conference finals frustrated him. Imagine how mad he must have been when they traded Julius Randle for virtually nothing earlier in the week, sending out Randle and the 28th pick for just the 33rd pick. It looked like they were just saving money, but it turns out this was all part of a master plan. The Wolves used that cleared cap space to bring in Ball. Now, if an opposing defense tries to double-team Anthony Edwards, good luck because you are about to get torched by LaMelo, who can drop 9 threes on any given night. Of course, Minnesota had to give up Naz Reid, who was the heart and soul of the team. But the front office was forced to choose between him and Rudy Gobert. While Gobert can be incredibly frustrating at times, he was the main reason they won that grueling Denver Nuggets series. You simply cannot replace what Gobert brings defensively. Furthermore, height and size have not been this important in the Western Conference in years. With this roster, Minnesota now has the defensive size to fight Victor Wembanyama and the high-powered offense to hit him back. When insider Shams Charania first reported that the Hornets were actively shopping LaMelo during the draft, it felt completely random. However, Brian Windhorst clarified that this has been brewing in the background for a long time. The reason has absolutely nothing to do with a sudden scandal. He did not wreck the owner's car with his Hummer. The real motive comes down to 5 distinct parts. The first issue is his reputation and mentality. While LaMelo can drop 40 points on any given night, an anonymous NBA scout told ESPN that he simply does not take basketball seriously enough. While that might be total speculation, he remains highly polarizing among NBA executives. Some view him as an absolute basketball genius, while others believe he lacks the leadership mentality to anchor a championship team. The second undeniable factor is his health. Before this current season, LaMelo had only played 58% of Charlotte's games since being drafted. That injury rate is on par with Anthony Davis or Zion Williamson. What is the point of having elite talent if you barely ever see it on the court? That narrative changed this season when LaMelo played 72 games for just the second time in his career, which was a huge reason why Charlotte was so successful. However, the Hornets front office had to heavily weigh whether he could ever do that again. Can they truly depend on his body, or was this the absolute peak moment to capitalize on his good health and sell high? You could actually see their lack of internal confidence in real time. LaMelo only averaged about 30 minutes per game this year because the team intentionally reduced his minutes to manage his fragile health. They clearly do not think his durability is sustainable, making this a massive risk for the Timberwolves. On the bright side for Minnesota, his age is a major plus. Despite being in the league for 6 seasons, LaMelo is still just 24 years old, leaving plenty of time to turn his injury history around, much like Steph Curry did early in his career. The third reason they dealt him is the spectacular breakout of Khan Knippel. The Hornets absolutely do not make this move if Khan had not just proven himself. He is officially their franchise player now, which is wild to think about considering his low-key persona. Kids outside of Charlotte might not be rushing to buy his posters like they do for the flashy LaMelo, but Khan is vastly better than anyone predicted. Drafted at number 4 behind Cooper, Dylan Harper, and VJ Edgecombe, many labeled him as just a shooter. He shattered expectations by breaking the rookie record for threes with 273 makes, leading the entire NBA in that category as a rookie. But Khan is so much more than a perimeter threat. He is a legitimate secondary playmaker who can put the ball on the floor, attack the rim, and play smart, team-first defense. Combined with Brandon Miller, 2 top 18 draft picks from this week, and now Naz Reid anchoring the front court. Charlotte has a highly functional core. The fourth and perhaps biggest reason is the money. LaMelo is currently on a max contract making about $43 million over the next 3 years, and he is now eligible for a 2-year extension worth $119 million. That would mean committing to 5 more years of maximum money. Charlotte was absolutely not ready to do that given his medical history. Committing $60 million a year to someone whose body you do not fully trust is financial death in the modern second apron era. The Hornets were likely going to approach LaMelo to take a pay cut, similar to what Jalen Brunson did in New York. Knowing his camp would instantly refuse, they chose to trade him before negotiations even began. If LaMelo were on a team-friendly contract, this trade never happens. The final reason is the new front office. Every major decision-maker in Charlotte has been on the job for 2 years or less, and they want a completely fresh vision. Their blueprint is Oklahoma City and San Antonio. The best teams today are built specifically with the second apron restrictions in mind. Look at Oklahoma City. They have an expensive core with Shea, Jalen Williams, and Chet, but every time a role player gets too expensive, they seamlessly replace him with a rookie contract. A.J. Mitchell is a perfect example this year, breaking out while making pennies. It is also why they drafted Jared McCain. With this trade, Charlotte now owns the second most first-round picks in the NBA, perfectly setting them up to execute that asset-heavy blueprint. Ultimately, this trade was a calculated move by Charlotte to sell high on LaMelo while he is healthy, avoiding a massive financial commitment while stacking assets like Sam Presti to one day build a true contender. For the Timberwolves, this gives off major Milwaukee Bucks vibes. When you have a once-in-a-lifetime superstar like Anthony Edwards, the pressure to build a winner is immense. Minnesota is throwing every single asset at the wall, but LaMelo represents an extraordinary risk. If Charlotte is right and his body breaks down to the point where he only plays 30 games a year, this could completely backfire, potentially leading to the end of Anthony Edwards' tenure in Minnesota down the line. They have emptied their entire asset war chest. Additionally, by losing Naz Reid and Julius Randle, the Wolves have suddenly transitioned from a physical, towering lineup into a guard-heavy roster. This heavily mirrors Rudy Gobert's old days with the Utah Jazz, where he was surrounded by guards with very little perimeter defense. While that regular season formula worked to an extent, it notoriously broke down in the playoffs. There is also a sneaky, unmentioned risk for the Hornets in this return package. Aside from Naz Reid, they received 1 unprotected first-round pick in 2033 and 3 pick swaps for 2028, 2029, and 2030. A pick swap is a bet that your team will have a better record than the opponent. Looking at the timelines, Anthony Edwards is under contract through the 2028-2029 season. This means the 2028 and 2029 swaps will likely not convey because Minnesota will still be highly competitive. The 2030 swap is the only one that feels genuinely promising. If those swaps fail to convey, Charlotte essentially traded their biggest star for just Naz Reid and a single future draft pick. Both sides are taking an enormous gamble. What do you think? Did Minnesota just secure a championship core, or did Charlotte make the smartest foundational move of the summer? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dive NBA analysis. See you in the next video.